Ya, jadi ini segmen baru ya dari kita ya, nge-rate mobil. Tanpa basa-basi langsung aja nih. Bentar dulu, kenalin dulu Mas Reja ini otomotor.
Berbilang terus tanya-tanya.
Kemarin dia baru standing REKENeh katanya sama ceweknya.
Iya, cita-citanya mau ketemu Om Fitra Eri. Kemarin Muhammad.
Iya Om, saya ngefans sama Om.
Iya. Biar dikasih Vespa tuh.
Bener.
Biar jadi anak komunitas.
Jadi langsung aja kita react ya. Mobilnya nih udah gua siapin buat kalian.
Gua kirain kita mau react gitu, Ble. Foto yang di depan.
Ntar dulu, ini saya mikirin yang mana ya? Anjing.
Dua.
Ya, jadi ini kita nih. Nah, lihat tuh. Nih. Ini
This is the low-res car. It is insane. I mean that in the best possible way. I love insane, and this certainly qualifies because, well, just take a look at it. Today I'm going to review the low-res car, certainly one of the most bizarre and interesting vehicles I've ever seen. And bids had some option are on your scout H2, which is a car here in Los Angeles from the Peterson Museum, and Drive H2, which is an environmental nonprofit focusing on zero emission and specifically hydrogen fuel cell vehicle technology. The Peterson and Drive H2 will be auctioning the low-res car soon, which means you can actually buy this crazy vehicle coming up soon. The proceeds will benefit both groups, the Peterson and Drive H2. You can learn more about Drive H2 and the fantastic Peterson Museum by clicking the link in the description below. But let's talk low-res car. As you might imagine, that stands for Lamborghini, which became a car. This car. The low-res car was designed by United Nude, the footwear company, and it's absolutely bizarre, as you can see. Now, it does have a drivetrain, and I will be driving it, but it's limited to lower speeds because it's mostly for show. Still, it was the sheer bizarreness of the low-res car that attracted me to it, and I had to know the quirks and features of this crazy vehicle. And so today, that's exactly what I'm going to do. First, I'll take you on a thorough tour of the low-res car and show you those quirks and features. Then I'll get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'll give it a Doug score. Answering a few basic questions you probably have about it, starting with the design. Now, like I said, the goal was to create a low-res car. But anyway, let's finish up with the interior of this car because there is more to discuss. Allow me to lift open the body so I can talk to you again. Anyway, yes, mechanicals. Like I said, small electric motor, top speed around 30 miles an hour. It's not exactly a speed demon, this car. And Drive H2 wants to convert it to a hydrogen propulsion system to go along with their sort of non-profit goals of hydrogen vehicle propulsion. Now, one interesting thing with the mechanicals of this car, up front there is a lot of stuff that's exposed. As you can see, the suspension is very exposed. In fact, when you're driving this car along, you can sort of see the suspension going up and down and doing all its traveling right in front of you. Same deal with the steering. As you move the steering wheel, you can see all of the steering kind of happening, all the mechanical components happening directly in front of you. Strangely enough, though, even though they left all of that stuff visible, the wheels are covered, both front.
Nggak pakai magnet ya biar langsung ya.
Iya, magnet berlawanan.
Muter-muter gitu.
Coba magnet disatuin berlawanan. Pasti dia kan ngeper.
Front and rear completely covered, so you can't see those from the outside. So the suspension, the steering, that's all visible, but the wheels they decided to hide. That's especially odd in a car that has front wheels that turn, like virtually all cars do, because then they have to turn around in this housing that's created for them rather than be able to freely move. But I guess the wheels have enough space to do their turning even inside this. They thought it would give it a sleeker look, I guess, with the wheels covered up. And by the way, one other item worth noting up front around all the mechanical stuff, you have a little VIN plate there. It's sort of a mock-up of an actual VIN plate. It was made by United Nude, whatever. It also says this is the third one of these, chassis number 3, suggesting there are other low-res cars out there, which is rather strange, or maybe there were prototypes that were made. I can only imagine more of these. It's a very bizarre vehicle. You really only need just one, but maybe for promotional purposes, they wanted a couple. Quirky house. All right, driving the low-res car. This is terrifying. Okay, first thing I noticed, ridiculous reflections from the silver panel onto the, you know, it's kind of hot in here. It's all windows. This is an interesting experience. Now the seat doesn't move, so my legs are, I'm right up, like my knees are compressed, like I'm crouching almost, trying to drive this thing. And I noticed that the steering column would probably impale me if I get in any form of accident. So that's kind of terrifying. With that said, this is kind of cool. This is not cool. I'm driving the weirdest thing on the planet, basically. Very, very interesting. Okay, now brake is with my left foot. Oh, a lot of brake. Okay. All right, now I'm going to try to turn around. There's no mirrors, which I've only just realized. There's also no seat belts, which is not an ideal situation, but that is in fact the case. I'm going to punch it here. Ooh, not much happening when you floor it, although the body kind of shakes. Oh my God, this is so weird. This is the weirdest vehicle I've ever driven by. There's other cars on the road. I can only imagine what they're thinking. They're probably thinking I'm insane, which is of course true. All right, now I'm really gonna floor it. Yeah, it's the, oh boy. I'm going like 12, but it feels like faster because it's so low and the body is shaking and stuff is rattling. This is insane. What is this vehicle? This is absolutely the most bizarre experience. I can see the road beneath me because the platform of the thing doesn't completely cover everything. Surprisingly maneuverable, actually. Reasonably acceptable vehicle. Now I use a toggle switch to shift into reverse, which is very weird. The steering wheel is also, you know, like angled to match the car, which is fine, but like, it's not a wheel, it's just like a hexagon and it's chrome. This thing is so bizarre, and watching it move, wow, you can see the suspension work, which is kind of interesting if you've never seen that before. Watching it move must be absolutely crazy. I'm gonna get some shots of it moving in a second, which I'm very curious about. You don't go very fast. Man, this is the most bizarre experience of my life. I've driven some weird cars, but this might just be weird car number ultimate here. It's showing me 15, 14 in the speedometer, but there's no way I'm going 50 miles an hour. I feel like I'm going about 4. Perhaps that's kilometers. The other thing is showing me 202. I have no clue what that means. Hopefully not miles of range. Can you imagine driving this 202 miles? Okay, I'm going to attempt a U-turn here. Oh, whoa. Whoa, this is testing the limits of the handling. It's doing okay though. It's doing okay. This is so ridiculous. This is truly the craziest thing I have ever driven. But when you go over bumps, the body just kind of like shakes a little bit. And you're like, okay. I'm gonna floor it again. Whoa, not much happening. And a lot of stuff creaks. And now it's showing that I'm going 28, 29, but that's not miles an hour for sure. That is like too fast. This is like a child backyard project. I don't want to be going that fast in this thing. I have to tell you though, driving this around is so cool. The thing is, we're holding up traffic when I make these U-turns, but everybody like wants to stop because they're like, what is this thing? I don't mind seeing it. Let's take a look at that. Oh my God, this is so bizarre. This is definitely the most bizarre automotive experience of my entire life. What is this thing? What have I gotten myself into here? And so that's the low-res car, which might be the single strangest car I have ever reviewed. The Peterson Museum is kind of famous for this stuff. Remember, they also provided me with the Honda S2000 from the Fast and the Furious, which I also reviewed. And their collection has many more amazing vehicles too. But this might just be the strangest. And now it's time to give the low-res car a Doug score. Starting with the weekend categories and styling, come on, admit it, the low-res car is very cool, and I think it looks awesome, and it gets an 8 out of 10. Acceleration, this is usually measured in 0 to 60. The low-res car won't do sing. Come on.
Ini cocok nggak di Indonesia, Bro?
Kata gue sih nggak cocok.
Kenapa, Bro?
Soalnya mata Indonesia itu kan
Apa nih?
masih jiwa-jiwa mencicil gitu.
Taruh deh. Kalau ngerakit kayak gitu bukannya lebih murah ya?
Enggak dong.
Kalau ngerakit sendiri.
Ngerakit juga kan lu beli spare partnya kan nggak bisa dari Indo juga semuanya. Dari luar ngirim pajak lagi kan.
Ya enggak, maksud gua misalkan bahannya bahan rangka mesinnya pakai Corolla atau Lancer, tapi casingnya diganti itu.
Bisa
Kan?
bisa selagi ada modalnya bisa.
Iya, maksud gua kenapa nggak membuat kreativitas kayak gitu? Bener lu. Ini
Tapi kan susah kalau di Indonesia itu. Lu ngebuat sesuatu itu harus dites dulu aman nggak, ada sama LLAJR kayak gitu kan.
Dites
Dites dulu itu. Apa namanya aja?
Apa?
Ya itulah pokoknya yang kayak angkutan umum, kayak mobil berapa orang batasannya yang nulis kayak gitu. Yang motor maksimal ininya ya beratnya gitu. Itu yang nanganin setahu gua sih kalau nggak salah.
Tadi kan lu katanya nggak cocok buat Indo karena banyak yang suka nyicil.
Iya.
Tapi kalau buat kontes gitu kayaknya seru juga ya.
Kalau kontes mah unik kan tuh.
Seru ya.
Mantap sih.
Tapi
Itu
nggak pernah lihat-
kontes inovasi ya.
Iya, walaupun cangkangnya doang diganti gitu. Tapi kan keren ya kelihatan di jalan ya.
Iya. Apalagi tuh kalau ini kan, kalau listrik tadi mantep sih tuh. Tadi masih bensin ya? Ngisi bensinnya di mana anjing?
Anjing gas.
Iya gas, ngisi gasnya di mana
Di
anjing?
belakang lah pasti.
Emang enggak?
Tadi nggak ada knalpotnya
ada.
juga ya.
Enggak ada knalpotnya.
Terus gimana dong?
Gimana itu?
Paling masih pakai motor listrik.
Oh, inian tenaganya ya pakai
Iya.
motor listrik ya.
Buat sementara.
Tapi tempat baterainya juga enggak ada tadi.
Di bawah jok kali.
Kan di bawah tombol-tombol bisa jadi.
Wih, tuh repot dong mau buka-buka bawa tombol.
Ya mau gimana anjing. Toyota aja buka-buka Peri.
Ya kan mau buka gini doang. Gitu. Orang lain bisa buka. Kalau ini kan dia repot buka dulu semuanya. Telanjang dulu baru.
Tapi menurut lu nih, lu kan suka ini aja ngeliatin otomotif tuh gitu kan. Nah, itu tuh menurut lu cocok turun dan dibikin masal 2000 berapa? Tahun 2000 berapa? Menurut lu?
Menurut kalau buat kayak gitu gimana? Terus sekarang juga udah mulai jatuh cinta sih sama mobil listrik.
Mobil-mobil aneh ya?
Iya. Karena mobil-mobil aneh tuh nggak ada bakal ini.
Iya, jarang.
Apalagi misalkan ada suatu pabrikan yang mengkhususkan konsumennya kayak bodinya model sendiri,
Widih,
request
sedap sih
kan.
gitu.
Oh, custom. Kayak si ini,
Custom.
kayak Royal Royce. Rolls Royce. Jadi custom itu.
Wah, itu
Jadi nanti misalkan catnya mau dari DNA gua, warnanya merahnya kayak gitu, dicariin.
Anjing.
Terus kalau ada orang misalnya nih gua punya hak paten, oh, ini style gua Adamski.
Berarti-
Damar. Nah, Reja mau bikin. Izin dulu ke gua. Bang, boleh nggak? Boleh tapi bayar ya, lu harus bayar.
Berarti Opal bisa dong, Ble. RGB blue.
Bisa.
Sedap sih. Mobilnya RGB kan. Ada neon-neonnya, tapi RGB-nya blue.
Ada logo Asus.
Lexus sih.
Oh iya sih kan telat. Oh iya, maaf. Ini nggak di-cut soalnya.
ada logo Nabati permen karet.
Apa?
Nggak di-cut.
Ada Nabati.
Itu mah rapi. Salah sasaran. Anda.
Nabati ungu.
Ada salah sasaran.
Tapi kalau ingin pecel lele ngirim barang pecel lele bisa nggak tuh? Kayak gitu. Apa Tesla dijadiin buat ngirim barang
Cybertruck
gimana
ya?
ya? Iya, Cybertrucknya.
Terus jual kopi-kopi yang di Tekno itu.
Iya.
Jus.
Cybertruck food.
Menggarik. Tapi lu bakal beli ya? Misalkan 2030 ada itu. At least kan 8 tahun lagi nih. Terus itu tapi udah ya keker bagus, kacanya bagus.
Beli.
Cuman harganya kayak Avanza 230-an.
Pasti beli.
Kalau ada duit mah beli kali ya.
Beli.
Buat iseng
Kalau
walaupun
gua
seatnya ada 2 ya.
Iya.
Kalau gua
Kenapa
enggak sih.
fair? Kenapa fair?
Nggak berisik, knalpotnya nggak seru.
Ya kan bisa dihitung sama si Reja.
Kan bisa kan.
Si Wow kan dia.
Kan soundnya ada bluetoothnya.
Lu setel aja.
Jadi knalpotnya dari Bluetooth gitu. Gede jack gitu.
Tadi nggak ada speakernya.
Nggak ada, cowok, nggak ada apa-apa, polos banget.
Anjing.
Si Rakita.
Airbagnya mana?
Nggak ada buat audio. Iya, airbagnya nggak ada tuh.
Itu sumpah itu kalau di Indonesia ditabrak-tabrakin sama Aerox itu sama
Ditabrak-tabrakin
buat ini buat
sama Nmax ya.
buat landasan dia. apa tuh gitu, kira trotoar aja. Kalau buat anak skate jahat juga.
Wih, sedap sih itu jadi inian.
Jadi obstacle. Lu beli tapi beli lah ya.
Beli lah.
Buat kemana gitu, buat kita tapi kayaknya nggak bakal bisa ke HI sih kalau memang belum resmi banget. Kalau udah resmi banget ya bisa kan, plat STNK-nya sama kan.
Tapi kalau gue
Naruh plat nomor di mana tuh?
Enggak ada bener.
Ngilangin estetik ya kalau ada plat nomor.
Iya jelek banget. Bisa naruh plat nomornya pakai ini, pakai apa? Yang lampu jalan itu apa namanya?
Enggak, kalau gua gini lebih futuristik lagi.
Apa?
pakai
Ketika dia ini kan kaca nih, ketika dia ada CCTV dinyalain, plat nomornya kebuka gini. Anjing.
Kamu tetap jelek.
Keren, Bre.
Lebih keren itu, dia itu kayak
Bentar kok tadi gua nyalain ini kok ada blis-blis gini ya?
ya itu lampu belakang.
Ini enggak ada, Bre.
Gua enggak tahu deh.
Cuh. Lu di situ dah ya. Coba di situ lihat, ada nggak? Ada nggak? Di sini nih lu.
Iya,
kesini.
ada.
Lu lihat ke sini.
kagak ada. Aduh, Ble.
LED kayak LED ya dia lu ya.
Coba ya, per lu kalau cek lu kesana deh.
Ya udahlah, itu aja dipermasalahin. Kita lagi ngebahas mobil.
Gua ada nggak?
Aduh, ada foto bini gua.
Mobil ya. Jadi ya menurut gua
Lebih
belum-
keren ini sih. Itu apa tuh yang di jual pulsa yang kayak gitu. Itunya.
LED ya.
Iya, LED kayak gitu kan.
Lampu neon biru.
Iya.
Bikin sakit mata.
Strobo polisi ya. Ya jadi cukup menarik. Kayaknya gue bakal beli juga. Tapi nggak buat jauh sih aja ya. Karena paling kayaknya maksimal 100 km per
Buat
jam.
ke Jaksel lah.
Ya buat ke Jaksel ya. Orang-orang pada bawa ini itu gue bawa gitu kayak apaan tuh anjing. Tapi jangan malam-malam coba kelihatan anjing.
Kelihatan.
Lampunya
Lampunya
kagak
aja enggak
ada.
ada tuh. Harusnya sih bisa sih ditambahin.
Iya sih, tapi ya ngeri-desain lagi lah, revisi lagi.
Enggak usah kan dia di dalam. Kan langsung mantul itu. Taruh di dalam itunya aja.
Lampu-lampu buat sepeda aja kali ya.
Lampu-lampu.
Iya, ditempel gitu ya. Kecil gitu, tapi banyak 50 gitu.
50-200. Udah kali ya?
Udah kali ya?
Ya udah lah.
Ya besok kumpulin lagi aja. Dari gua segitu aja ya. Referensinya untuk episode pertama ini. Semoga viral dan meledak, ini yang nonton 5 juta views tuh. Kita kan cuma bisa berdoa dan berharap.
Soalnya kita bikin ini juga nggak niat sih.
Iya, nggak ada yang edit, nggak ada musik-musik.
Kalau rezeki mah,
Iya.
kata bapak gue rezeki nggak kemana. Cuma kitanya aja yang kemana-mana.
Apa lu bilang tadi? Nggak kemana?
Aman,
Nggak ke
enggak.